Shapfere Dinsang. Wait, I don't even know if I should have these glasses on or off, but because also I just generally can't see, but I don't know. Okay. What's happening, guys? Welcome to Shapfere Dinsang. My name is Numbulelo Fox, and I am the voice behind Shapfere Dinsang. I think for the past couple of months, when I really had the urge to, post on YouTube on this channel, all I did really was just post pictures for you guys and videos, and I would just do the voiceover. But somebody convinced me otherwise to actually just extend what I usually talk about on my TikTok page over onto YouTube, and I figured, that could be interesting. But because I have been very, very lazy, but also work has gotten in the way, I haven't really gotten a chance to actually thinking about doing that. I think also mainly because I've got another YouTube channel that is lurking in these streets. But even then, like, that one's still not active, so I might as well make this one active. But if you don't know what Shapfere is all about, Shapfere is all about informing you guys on the latest in Mzansi, whether it's celebrity news, whether it's just interesting news, to say the least. I will basically just be talking about unpacking it, and this is just a conversation, and just trying to dissect just some of the stuff that happens, in our country. Some stuff which is very, very bizarre, but we'll talk about it in the comment section. But before we jump right into today's video, please don't forget to comment, like, share, most importantly subscribe. We are obviously still starting small, so please make it a point to also share the video far and wide. Without further ado, let's get into today's video. So I wanted to talk about so many topics that happened this past weekend or like the previous week, but I figured this is going to be a very, very lengthy video, so I'm just going to keep it short and sweet. Hopefully like under 15 minutes. But I mean, if we kind of recap about the week that's passed, so much has happened. We're talking Slik talk and Cassper now beefing. They want to actually go in the ring head to head for 100K. I know. Then there's also the whole Vusi Snova, who's now changed, or rather he's added another persona to him called Snova, and now he's about this Amapiano life. Then there are just, what else happened? Oh yes, the firing of Unathi Nkayi from KFM, and how Sizwe Dlomo is now somewhat embroiled in all of that. So try best believe, like, South Africa's is just, it stays being filled with drama, and we can't help but actually just talk about it. So this is going to be a channel that informs and that dissects all these things. I am not here like Slik Talk, who basically hates, but I'm just here to basically create conversation in the comment sections, but more so obviously this being an extension of my TikTok page. I'm just hoping that the same engagement that I got there would be pretty much the same here as well. The first thing we need to talk about is definitely the whole Vusi Nova situation, because that one had just caught me off guard. And for me personally, Vusi Nova is not really someone that I used to follow very closely. I just knew, okay, cool, he's related to, if you guys knew, Kanoban Kumbuza from Isitingo. So that's his brother. Apart from that fact, and the fact that he does he does covers of songs, that's literally all I knew of, Vusi Nova, and that he was friends with Sumizi. So it's just a handful of things that I knew. But when I came across Film Pella's tweet last week, and around the announcement that, while he's jumping into the whole Amapiano space, and look, he's not the first guy to kind of cross genres, because Cassper's done it, and Cassper, who is a rapper or a hip-hop artist, is currently like flying in that in that genre himself. I know Reason even changed his name, and so it had me thinking, I'm like, why would people go to the extent of changing their names for the sake of trying to adapt to another genre? Like, for me, it doesn't make sense. Also, the whole name change is just so confusing to a lot of people, especially the older generation, because they're the ones that actually listen to Vusi Nova's music, actually a majority of them. So was there a need for him to change over into alter ego yake called Usnova? And also, Snova is a name that already exists. There's an artist called Snova, but I guess because he's not as popular, but we'll just ignore that. But for me, I just feel like it just wasn't necessary. Honestly, it was just a waste of energy and a waste of an announcement. He could have just punted, the song that he's released, which I must say, shame. It's actually a very nice and vibey song, but personally, I just did not see a need for the change in the name, but also even the change in appearance. Like, guys, the way I I don't know. And I remember someone on Twitter even saying, Guti, it could actually just be a trauma response. No, not on Twitter. It was on my TikTok. They were like, it actually could be a trauma response because for those of us who, or for those of you guys that may have forgotten, but there was a time where Vusi had been, I think he was kidnapped, yeah, if I'm not mistaken. And the robbers actually made him sing one of his songs. So people felt like he was definitely reacting out of that as a trauma response. But I mean, we'll never really know. So let me know what you guys think about the whole Snova situation thing that's going on there. Personally, I'm just not a big fan of it, but let's move right along. So then the second story that we definitely cannot leave out is the whole Slik talk versus Cassper, or rather Cassper versus Slik talk. Now, if you don't know who Slik talk is, let me just give you a summary. Now, Slik talk is, I guess, one of South Africa's biggest haters. Like, this gent does not care for anybody. Like, if he doesn't like you, he doesn't like you. You can't change his mind. And he's got his favorites, which is definitely a Reese. That much I got from McG's podcast. And this guy's very interesting because when I was watching his interview on McG, I was like, for him to have gotten here, like, and I was super, super surprised to actually find out that he's actually a lawyer, or rather, okay, he's not really Ngatini. He hasn't been admitted yet, from my understanding, and he's also still currently studying, but he's very much well versed within the law. And so obviously he's a smart gent. But when you look at the videos that he basically releases on social media, that's a different vibe altogether. So, because I'm like, I used to be a big hater, especially because he used to insult women so much that I just wasn't about that energy. And I just felt like that was literally just like small dick energy at that point. But I mean, all his other videos and commentary, it had me thinking. I was like, okay, he's got a point. He's saying things that, on our minds, but you can't necessarily say. So that's what I appreciate about him. And so anyway, fast forward, obviously he said something about Mufasa, aka Cassper. And I suppose because Cassper just does not like criticism, he decided to basically battle it out with, Slik talk and offer 100K reward if he gets into the ring with him. Now, this is not the first time Cassper's ever challenged anyone, because I know he also did challenge AKA, but that one also just fell on deaf ears. I don't know what happened. But now he's challenging Slik talk, and I was laughing on Twitter because people were just like, we just hope Slik talk basically punches Cassper, because at this point he just needs to be humbled. And in our eyes, one punch is more than enough, and we'll be content, because unfortunately Cassper doesn't really have the best responses on social media, because again, he doesn't like being criticized, which for me is also kind of weird, because if you're on a public platform and you're a public figure, you are subject to scrutiny, and the best thing you should do for yourself is just keep working and just keep ignoring all the noise. But because si childish song so anyway, so Slik talk has now accepted that whole thing. He's accepted the challenge, and so I'm interested to kind of see how all of this basically ends up. Then we also have, I guess, I don't know how to perceive these news, because it's guys, like it tough, especially after the weekend. Newspaper also came out to say otherwise, but basically last week news broke that Unathi Nkayi, Unathi from Idols, has been fired from Kai FM because that's where she had been working. Now, Unathi used to host the drive time show, yeah, from 12 to 3. And so there was a time where, like, for a couple of days, she wasn't on air. But, I just thought, and maybe that was basically the build up, and they were preparing listeners for that exit. So anyway, news breaks again on Twitter to basically announce that Unathi is no longer with Kai FM. Kai FM, which used to be managed by Greg Maloka. Greg was also embroiled in his own scandals, and so he was removed. And then Wangena, some other lady called Spungile Mkiali. I think I'm pronouncing that right. But anyway, then Bengune's obviously, because the statement in which Kaya FM released wasn't really detailing what had happened, right? And so people then got to the assumptions that no, the current managing director used to be a station manager at the SABC, particularly at Metro, and we all know that Unathi was also once at Metro, and people were just putting one and one together, and they just assumed that no, because these two allegedly didn't get along back in when they were still working at Metro, she could have been the reason why she basically got fired, right? Which it's very possible, Imagine we are happy, you go to another station, your old boss is going to be a new boss food, like go ox. So after that whole thing, then no man, like this whole thing is actually bigger than what we think. But again, like semantics, statements are just not being clear. Nothing is being said, like there's no answer. Until I think this was on Sunday. Yeah, on Sunday, is it Sunday World? Yeah, Sunday World. Sunday World came out with an article basically stating why Unathi was fired. So according to this particular article, and this is also how Sizwe Dlomo was also involved, but basically they were just talking about how Unathi had made up a claim against Sizwe Dlomo because Sizwe is also on Kai FM, and his show is like just before the 6 o'clock, I think, show as well. And apparently Usizwe had verbally abused her basically at work. And guys, verbal abuse, and when you accuse people of such, you need to get your facts straight, right? And so word got out that actually Unathi was lying, and that there was an actual recording of that discussion between the two of them, which did not constitute verbal abuse of any sort. And so if it wasn't for that recording, we would have been singing a different tune altogether now. And so based on the code of conduct, I'm assuming at the station, they just figured, well, you can't be lying on such a matter. And this is huge because we live in a country that, women are exposed to abuse and they're never heard. And your story kind of invalidates what people actually go through on a day-to-day, whether it's at work, whether it's at home, or wherever, they experience it. And when that got out, then Sizwe went onto Twitter as well to basically also say that, living in the country that we live in, you need to be very, very careful not to accuse people for doing things that they didn't do for the sake of trying to save face and also saving your job. And this was hectic because I, for one, have always maintained that, I always believe in women. If a woman says this is what a man did, there's a high chance that I'll probably believe the woman more than I would the gent, right? Because that's also proof that in most cases, men are the culprits. But in this instance, now we're talking about your colleague and you're making up lies for the sake of whatever motive it is that you have. It is a bit tricky because, it's awkward. Because now, sister is for kulmamanga. And also, you're literally putting yourself up against Vusi, someone who basically knows his rights. That was just reaching on another level. So I don't know where this whole thing is gonna go, especially now this whole public spat actually blew up the way that it did. I do wonder if she's ever gonna go back to radio. But someone did say, why doesn't she go to Mhlobo Wenene? You know, maybe she'll actually just be a better fit there. But yeah, let me know what you guys think about all these topics. Let me know how you feel about Slik talking Cassper in the ring for 100K. Let me know about Vusi Nova's change, and definitely the Unathi Nkayi and Sizwe matter in the comment section down below. Let me know how you guys rated today's video. Give me a like if you enjoyed the video. Let me know if you guys want to still see more of me. Thank you so much for tuning into today's video. I hope to give you a lot more in future. And so from me, Nombulelo, thank you so much for tuning in. Until next time.